Hi Daniel. Hi. Hi Victor. Hi Vice.
Hello.
Hello. Good day everyone.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Vic, if you said anything. Or we'll give people a few more minutes. And since I'm on my phone at the moment, if anyone has access to the meeting notes, if you could please put those into chat, that would be very, very helpful. And thank you very much for that.
I can do that. Um, Jay, I put myself into the agenda for today because I attended I was at the LLF Member Summit last week, and I participated in an open session on the future of diversity and open source, and I could definitely say a few words about what transpired at that session if you're interested, if it's relevant.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you for that. Absolutely, I'm interested. I think we're all interested. And in case if anyone hasn't noticed, Kahil is not with us currently. I'm not sure if he won't be back in the future. I'm not sure about that whole situation, but I know he's not here now. So we lost Kahil for a while. Um, Other than that, I think that we're set. We still have support from staff. Um, and I believe Naomi should be joining at some point. I'm not terribly sure. So we'll see about that as well. Um, let's see. Let's take a look here at our agenda. Please put your attendance in if you haven't already. Do we have anyone new? Do we have any new friends? Okay, so no new friends. Do we have anybody who's willing to scribe for us today?
I can subscribe.
Excellent, and thank you very much for that. All right, and we have our funding request was accepted. I think we talked about that the last time. Um, our schedule though is tentative currently. We're still working that out with staff and everything else. So hopefully we'll get some info on that here in short term. We have our office hours coming up this Thursday, and we'll be talking about mental health stuff, which is always an excellent discussion, especially during our current date and time. We all suffer normally, but the anxiety that gets built up now is increasing. So we should have these discussions, and we should have them a little bit more frequently. So I'm pretty excited about this coming office hours. Um, Daniel is on the schedule here to talk about stuff at the member summit. Before we get into Daniel, does anyone else have anything they want to bring before the group as part of as a speaking item? And Harmony, it does count, but you are still more than welcome to introduce yourself if you think you didn't get enough airtime the last time you were here.
I think the last time I was there was just one person or two person, I can't remember. But once again, my name is Harmony. I'm speaking from like the south side of Nigeria, and I'm a project manager. I'm here to help out. I love the work you guys are doing. I'm here to join, help. Very good with documentation, planning, and a couple of other stuff. So it's my pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone.
Excellent, man, and thank you for that. And you will get utilized. Believe that. Wonderful to have you. All right. Daniel, floor is yours.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I just thought I was there. I happened to be in the session, which I can share my notes from. Before I shared these notes, I just want to make it clear these are my raw notes from this session. And they're not attributed. I took these notes in a kind of Chatham House rule style, so like just taking down what people said rather than who said it. But we had about, I would say 30 people in this unconference session. This was at LF Member Summit last week in Napa, California. Um, and the session was led by Nithya Ruff from Amazon. And the session was on, it was a so-called unconference session, very unstructured, but the topic was evolution of diversity. And the, the context is quite clear. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of people were in the room is because everybody's got a lot of anxiety right now. Diversity and inclusion programs are under attack, in tech around the world in different, well, especially in the US. Um, there are a lot of companies and organizations that are stepping away from or defunding or dismantling diversity programs. And I think that's the context. I think a lot of people, I mean, it was very uh, heartening for me to see that everybody in the room was basically there to reaffirm commitment. This was a room full of people that truly understood the value of these programs, and that was a bunch of people that were there to talk about, how do we defend, how do we make sure that we continue doing what we're doing because we all see the value of it. That's certainly the kind of theme that I saw. One of the things that I will mention is that I stood up and said, because we talked about how programs might defend themselves in this age where they're under attack. And one example given was OpenSSF changing the name from to the Bear Working Group, which I thought was quite a good example. Because it's basically it's the same thing. It's just a bit of a rebrand. Um, and What else? We talked about how the pendulum is, might be shifting, but it's basically uh, always going to shift back and probably shift back in the other direction sooner rather than later. Um, there was a lot of talk about mentorship programs, a lot of talk about, and this was the focus of this is not only every Linux Foundation event or Linux Foundation project, but the open source community in general and ecosystem in general as well, right? There was a lot of talk about what we can do, what we should be doing, how much we should be trying to stand our ground with regard to diversity and inclusion programs, how much we need to um, uh, make it how much we need to do things like rebranding um, or trying to soft pedal things right now versus sticking to our guns, holding our ground, etc. I think that one thing that I kind of input into the conversation was that, yeah, somebody who lives in the UK, I had just been to um, an event called FOSS Backstage, which was held in Berlin a couple of weeks ago, before going to this LF Member Summit. And Linux Foundation was held up as an example of a US tech organization that has not backed away from its diversity and inclusion initiatives. And I voiced that, and I tried to bring that energy to this session. Um, and also in the wrap-up session, I also stated what I stated there, which is that makes me proud to be part of this ecosystem, right? But also, I think that's something that we are going to need to continue to kind of defend, because against voices that might want to kind of chip away at the systems and the processes and the procedures and the organizations, the working groups that we've organized over the last, years and decades even. So also just to say that from an international perspective, a lot of other open source communities are looking at the US, or especially in tech communities in general, are looking at the US and scratching their heads right now because they are not moving in that direction. In fact, my perception is that if anything, there's a reaction the other way in Europe regarding putting more energy into diversity and inclusion across the board. So another thing we talked about was codes of conduct and how important those are, and how having strong codes of conduct in open source. And again, I brought my experiences within OpenSSF as being one of the reasons that I feel very confident about operating in OpenSSF is the strong commitment to codes of conduct. And I also so again, this is another kind of mechanism that we've built up over the years now that we need to be ready to defend, I think. And we also talked about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. So we talked about how AI can have both pluses and minuses from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, because for one, on the one hand, AI can help people to engage um, more confidently with topics, and the AI systems can help, especially people with disabilities, to engage with content. So that's one really important thing. However, there's also this issue of AI model bias, where a lot of models are biased towards U.S. content, towards U.S. Outcomes. One example that came up was somebody in France searching for a beef bourguignon recipe and being given a Julia Child recipe, whereas this is a French recipe, and like but obviously the model had been um, trained, with a U.S. centric data set. So how much? So there's a lot of bias and cultural bias in AI models, and that's something that maybe Linux Foundation ought to be able to do some more about um, with across its different programs. So as we're looking at AI, we should be taking a look at that as well. So let's see. Takeaways, don't stop practicing all the stuff that we learned so far. Be inclusive. We need to continue to practice, uh, and we need to continue what we're doing. Know and believe in your values, do the right things, connect with other people who are doing this work. So connecting with other organizations within Linux Foundation and outside of Linux Foundation. Not complying in advance with things, and we can reinforce organizations that are doing the right thing. So Linux Foundation can do that. And also just that I came out of that session with a real sense of hope, a sense of purpose, a sense of agency around these topics. And that is definitely something that is necessary. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of communicate that and bring that energy here. Yeah, that's all I've got. And then I can share this document, which again is my completely very ropey notes rather than the idea is that we might do a blog post about this from Linux Foundation blog. But right now, all I've got is these notes, and these are just my unofficial notes, and I'm going to post them in the Bear channel in. Oh my God, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to post the URL for them in the Bear channel in Slack. That's all. That's all I've got on that.
Well, Daniel, man, that was wonderful to say the least. Man, I'm so happy to hear the Linux Foundation continuing on the path. And I often say that when it comes to inclusivity and diversity, in general, everyone points to a specific item, and that there's a whole bunch of things that are encompassed in that. And when we rebranded, I loved the rebrand because I said, we're taking something that has been politicized now and has become. I mean, people will look at the acronym, and the acronym is the politics. Not even what the acronym stands for. Just the acronym under itself has become the political thing. And when you take that away, and now you're spelling it out. And when we rebranded like in the way where we're spelling it out. You know what I mean? The belonging, empowerment, allyship, and representation, it's a wonderful thing. And now, if you have a problem with those words, then we have a bigger problem, right? If you have a problem with those words, we have a bigger problem.
Well,
And that and
I could have said the same about diversity and inclusion, though, right? I
right,
mean, I think any word can be weaponized. So that,
right.
that which is why we have to be careful about
Mhm.
too much rebranding. I think sometimes we need to stick to our guns on things. Although I totally agree. Having said that, I totally agree with you about the words that they're using: belonging, empowerment, allyship, representation. those are all super important concepts, and we need to defend them.
And I do want to agree with you, right? So when we were going through the process and we were thinking this way, I said the same thing. I said the exact same thing you did, as a matter of fact. I was like, I'm not a punk, man. I don't cower in the corner, and I'll stand up and fight all day long. But there are battles and there are wars. And we can fight this battle. We can fight the battle a little different. And then do it in such a way whereas now, if you have a problem now, you're exposing yourself, right? So if you just want to cast a light on this and say, the acronym and do all that, that's fine. We'll change that. If you still have a problem, now you're exposed, and then we can have that discussion, right? So that was the angle there. But to hear this kind of forum in the member summit. And then when you talked about the AI stuff, oddly enough, in one of my courses at school this past summer, I had brought this up, especially when we talked about workplace ethics and AI. That was one of the courses, and I talked about the bias on the way that models are built, like the data sets used and the data sets used to train the models, and the way the models are built in general. I was like, nobody from where I grew up is building models. Nobody from where I grew up are building data sets. So when you are using something like a generative system or a predictive engine, and you're using prompts and you're prompt engineering, the people somebody from where I grew up couldn't write a successful prompt because the vernacular is different. The terminology is different. The words that create the data sets, the images that create the data sets, everything that creates they're all different. So there is a cultural, environmental, even a socioeconomical, sometimes even a political bias in some of these things that needs to be overcome. We're getting there though. Today is as worse as it's ever going to be. And we know that. So they're getting there, which is the wonderful thing. The wonderful part of this is that it's getting there. So kudos to the Linux Foundation. Even more prouder that we still have this vehicle here and that we can do what we do. And for everyone who wants to be involved. I am especially going to enjoy this summer when we have our mentees in, right, that get a chance to take advantage of our funding and get a chance to come in and learn and be part of OpenSSF and the projects that we're doing. So I can't wait for that as well. And that just speaks to the credit of Linux Foundation, OpenSSF. So I'm excited. Thank you again, Daniel, for that, man. That was wonderful. All right. Now, does anyone have anything new that they want to bring up? Any thoughts about items that we have coming up? We just had the member summit. Now we have North America coming up. The Open Source Summit North America. That'll be in June. Do we have anything between now and June? Open source wise, is there a conference something between now? I know we have RSA. I know RSA is coming up, but I'm not sure if we're doing anything for RSA.
There's VulnCon, which I know some people are participating in.
There is also UN Open Source Week in New York.
Open Source Week in New York.
Yeah, United Nations.
Oh man, I've never heard of Open Source Week. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
I think a week before the Open Source Summit in Denver. A week before, yeah.
Oh, you said it's a week before.
Yes, a week before.
Okay. Oh yeah, 16th to the 20th to 16th to the 20th of June.
Yes.
At United Nations, no less.
Yes.
Yes, actually.
Oh. What was that? I didn't get that last part.
Oh yeah, he said yes.
Oh wow. So that's interesting. I've never wow, I think that's something that we may I mean we're probably gonna miss this year, but that's something that we might want to keep our eyes on. That is a large man,
There
that's
was
a
a
large venue.
session last year, um, which may be, let me put my thoughts together. I participated in a panel at a side event to this last year, which was hosted at Microsoft's office in New York, which was called OSPOs for Good. And there were a lot of people there because they were there for this open source week. And a lot of goodwill. There was some discussion at last year's event about UN putting together its own open source principles document, which I guess has been done or is underway.
Yeah, it has been done.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is something that we should be thinking about this as another venue that we may want to participate in. Hell, I'm even thinking that maybe this should go to the TAC in some way. I mean, like I can't believe that we don't do anything at this every
The
year.
search is still ongoing. I remember I submitted um to be invited. So I think it's still open for people to indicate interest.
So, well, I know you can still
I
register,
was
but
at
are CFPs still open? Or can people submit stuff to speak? I see the
yes,
registration here.
yes, it's still open. Let me see if I can get the link and share. Yeah, because I was at first backstage in Berlin, and one of the panel sessions we had the event, and they said they were looking at inviting more people this time around to participate in the conversation.
This is something that we should get interested in. And also, I'm curious to see how heads of state think about open source, right? So this is running out of the Office of Digital and Emerging Technologies, which I think is wonderful. I wonder how they think about open source in the world of AI. Okay, good. So we have that one coming up, and then Balcon is next week or the week after, right?
I think it's next week.
Okay. So Balcon next week, that's good. All right. So we're at the bottom of the hour. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up for the good of the team here? I know we were tracking on funding things, so that came through. We're still waiting on scheduling of when we can start putting out and getting our kids in. I call them kids. They're probably grown adults, fresh in college or whatever. But so we're still working that out. Does anyone have anything new that they want to bring to the table here? Or we can adjourn early. I mean, you know how I feel. If we don't have anything to really harp on, we're set for our speaking stuff in Open Source Summit. We're set for our speaking stuff during DEF CON and Black Hat. I know I'll be doing that here since I'll be here in Vegas during that time. So we're set on that. We're looking, we'll be able to look at this new stuff coming up in short term. So we're good to go on all the things that we have out here that are forward looking. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question. I remember I submitted a session with Yesenia and Santiago on mentorship. for the Open Source Summit. So I wanted to know, because I haven't gotten any update yet. So I wanted to know when, if you know when would be updated on that. So
Submitted a session with her for a CFP for Open Source Summit,
yes, it's a
Okay.
panel session.
and you haven't gotten an email back to say that the session was accepted or anything like that yet?
Yeah. I'm a little bit nervous, coupled with the fact that if I'm to attend, I need to start processing my visa like months away, because most times you might get to the embassy and you can't get an appointment date for like 4 or 5 months. It's very crazy, yeah.
Okay, so I think what we want to do with that then, and I'm not sure if you started, I think we want to get with staff on that one. To see what all needs to happen to make sure that you get the you schedule the meetings and the interviews you need to schedule, and then you get the funding that you need to attend. That's a staff thing, I believe.
Maybe if they can't provide a certainty or clarity on the proposal, they could at least provide an invitation letter that you would need in order to apply for the visa. Yeah, because
Oh,
yeah. Who would that be? That would maybe Krob could help, or Krob could redirect to somebody.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Thinking about reaching out to Crow. I mean, he may not be the person, but he can find a person. He's good at that.
Yeah.
So do me a favor. Put your question and all that into Slack at Crow, and I'll echo, and then we'll see if we can track down what we need to track down and get you what you need.
okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, you got it. What else? What else does anybody? You had your hand raised up, Daniel. Is that all you want to say?
No, I think, I just wanted to say if there's any way I can help, if you need somebody else to be on a panel or anything at Open Source Summit North America, at SOS Community Day North America, or indeed at those events that are happening in Europe in Amsterdam in August. I'm planning to be in both places, and I'd be more than happy to be if I can be useful, let me know, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And stand by, because you might be used to. I know that I'm not going to be in Denver, and we do have that panel talk, and so you may definitely be able to stand in if we have
Sometimes
any
it can be
stuff
useful
down there.
for like, a how shall I say it? Cis white, you know, guy who who has no diversity characteristics whatsoever to stand up and say, yes, this is super important, right? Like, and so if there's an opportunity to do that, I'd be more than happy to do that. Yeah,
You take the words right out of my mouth, man. I have long argued, people see me coming a mile away, and and it's always on one side of the spectrum or the other. I'm either talking, some people like me are either talking for, or we're very strong against. So I'm always for, but you see me coming. Boy, wouldn't it be wonderful to have cis gender white men,
Yeah.
you know, just giving it, and then quieting the whole audience, because now, I mean, that allyship is something else. That
Yeah,
allyship speaks louder
and
than
that's
I
something else
could.
that came through in the session, was just a lot of people expressing that their sorry, in the session and member summit was a lot of people kind of expressing their desire to show allyship and to have opportunities to yeah, to be there. So anyway,
Well,
so be happy to do that, but also I don't want to crowd anybody, so
well, see,
yeah.
here goes the thing, right? I said this I said as much in the community, in our community office hours. I said, part of the problem is that not enough. It would be so much easier for you to stand up and say, no, this needs to happen, especially if more people like me stood up and said, this needs to happen. I'm standing, you can stand toe to toe with me, but it's not fair. It's not fair if you step up and you're willing to say this and I take a step back and now you're out in front and I'm back here. No, we got to stand shoulder to shoulder. Stand shoulder to shoulder. I got you, you got me. And it's got to be like that, man. I don't, it's not, I love seeing you out there, but we got to make sure that we stay out there too, because you can't be left high and dry by yourself doing it. You know what I mean? That's not fair. Good. So be on standby because we definitely need you for some of those. Like I said, I'll be in Vegas, but I will not be in Denver. All right. Does anyone else have anything else for the good of the order? Or we can adjourn early. Outstanding. Then thank you all very much for another great conversation. In a couple of weeks, we'll be back. We should have more clarity on scheduling our mentees and everything like that, and all of the stuff around talks and everything like that. And hopefully, the GMA, we get your stuff straightened out with your visa and everything like that, or at least get it on the path to where it gets straightened out, and by that time, right? So then we have that to talk about as well. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.